Good morning. My name is Jeff Laufenberg. I work for Syngenta, and the folks at Country Visions asked me to come in today and just talk about a few things that we're seeing in the corn and soybean plots and trying to relate that information back to what we're commercially seeing here in the trade area that Country Visions works in eastern Wisconsin here. First thing in the plots behind me here that we've got a comparison on is we've got a comparison here of generic dual followed by status and glyphosate. And then we've also got that compared to branded dual, followed by the same post-emerge overlay, status and Roundup. And what the plots are clearly showing here is that when we use the same rate of a generic metallochlor and compare that to branded S-metallochlor, that we get a drop-off in control. The reason for that is the older generic metallochlor products like metulachlor, like Parallel, are using the old R isomer of metallochlor, which is not as active on controlling weeds as what's in dual magnum, which uses S-metallochlor. And clearly here we can see that drop off in control. And what actually is causing that is really you're only getting about 65% of what you would get with dual magnum on control when you look at using a true generic R isomer metallochlor. And so these plots are verifying what we're seeing commercially out here in the geography. So be careful and pay attention when you are going to put a metallochlor product down, that use that S isomer whenever you can to maximize your weed control early season. The other thing that we're seeing in the area is an increase in water hemp pressure. And so for the vegetable growers, where we have to rely on a lot of metallochlor use and then short residual products to enable us to rotate the vegetable crops the following year, that use rate per acre with dual is really important. So keep your dual rates up on those acres in vegetable crops to the top end of what the labels allow, whether it's corn going to rotating the snap beans or peas or that kind of a thing, or whether you're in a lima bean rotation and you're using that product on lima beans or snap beans. Look at your labels, but keep to the higher end of that dual rate whenever you can, because that's really making a difference on our residual control and trying to keep water hemp in particular and keep pressure on that weed to keep that in control for us. The next plot I just want to take a minute to look at is behind me here to my right, and that is a one-shot pre-emerge herbicide application in corn. This year we applied Acuron here in a one-pass early, and pretty good control, but I am seeing a few weed escapes scattered through, perhaps a bit more than what I would typically see in a normal year in this geography. And seeing that in commercial fields as well with any of the one-pass pre-emerge herbicides that were used this year. Reason for that is we had a couple things going on. We planted our corn crop a little bit on earlier side this year, sprayed our herbicides early, then we had a long protracted cold spell. So we were very slow to canopy closure this year because of that early cold spell that we had. The crop just didn't go ahead and grow fast. The next thing that we had happen to us was an abundance of rainfall. So that second half of May and then through a lot of the parts of June, we had above average rainfall. So that really increased the degradation of the herbicides. And so when we grouped that all together, the early planting, which meant early applied herbicide, so it was out there for a long time, cold weather, meaning slow to canopy closure, and then a lot of rainfall to give us a little more than normal on herbicide degradation, allowed for some late weeds to just sneak through before we got canopy closure this year. And you're seeing that out in the fields, a few more weeds in the one-pass pre-emerge corn herbicides than what we typically would expect to see. For our last stop in the corn herbicide section, wanted just to show what kind of results we had this year with a two-pass corn herbicide program. Directly behind me here, we have an Acuron down at a foundation rate, followed by a post-emerge application of Acuron tank mix with glyphosate. So split applied Acuron with glyphosate along in the tank mix on that second pass. Really clean corn. If we compare this to any of the one-pass pre-emerge programs in the plot this year or commercially here, we can really see that we took care of our weed pressure. As we see water hemp in the area increase and other things like giant ragweed, these two-pass programs will likely be a little more popular just because we're able to go in there and give a second shot of herbicide a little farther into the growing season to give us good residual control through canopy closure, which is really key to keeping things like water hemp in check and keep that pressure down.